3, 2, 1.
What's going on, everybody? This is As-Salaam
Muhammad Hassan.
and you are listening to the Young and Muslim Podcast.
As-Salaam Alaikum, everybody. Welcome back.
Hope you all are doing extremely well today.
I'm feeling like Maze right here.
Hey.
Welcome back. Welcome
Yeah,
back.
man.
Welcome back.
Today, we have a very important, very illustrious guest.
Alhamdulillah. A brother that we have been following for a while and try to get on his radar. One thing that I know is that hard work forever pays.
Yeah,
Yes,
right?
it does.
Immensely.
and
So,
persistence in them DMs pays off.
DMs don't have to be a bad thing. They can make it productive. Make it a good thing. Can be a sin in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
So, bro, you are the initiator, so go ahead and set it off.
All right.
Who do we have?
We have an author. We have a spokesperson. We have an advocate for his community. And most importantly, we have a father.
Mashallah.
My man, Mr. Tariq Toure.
As-Salaam Alaikum. It's a blessing to be here with you two brothers. And I'm happy to be in Leesburg and not shopping. You know, everybody say come down here for the outlets. But yeah. So, you know, I was happy to be down here in Leesburg and just kicking and spend some time with you all and, you know, digging and ready to answer whatever questions you got, whatever inquiries, whatever curiosities they spark your mind. So
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And I mean, we definitely have some curiosities. You know, both of us, we've been reading your new book, 2 Parts Oxygen.
Thank you.
It
Thank
just
you.
dropped recently.
Right.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Go buy that 2 Parts Oxygen. You can go find it at my website, tariqtoure.com/breathe. You won't find it on Amazon because Jeff Bezos has enough money already.
Hey, I
so
hear
just
that.
go to my site
hear
and
that.
buy it for only $22. That's 0 away from 22, which means it's almost free.
Hey, I'm not going to lie. My man threw the plug super early.
Let's
and
get
there's,
it.
look, I
That's how
respect
we
it.
feel
I
it.
respect
It's out the way now.
Yeah.
Now
It's out the way.
I can rest on the conversation.
But this is one of 2 books that you've authored, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Was it Black Seeds?
Yeah, first one is Black Seeds.
Nice,
yeah.
nice. And we'll get into that. But, you know, we want to know more about the man, the author, you know what I'm saying? We want to know a little bit about, we want to know about Tariq, you know what I'm saying? So tell us a little bit about yourself, something that might not be on your bio page. You know, like your accolades are nice, but who are you?
Bare bones. Let's figure it
Okay,
out.
so I'm the son of Maisha Muhammad and Malik Jones, 2 educators, 2 community workers. I'm one of 16 children.
Mashallah.
Between my mother and my father. I'm the only child between my mother and my father. They were pretty late on in life when they had me. They were both around in their early 40s. I grew up in West Baltimore, Maryland. Went to the Islamic Community School on North Avenue, 1335 West North Avenue. Check out the Islamic Community School, their website, ICS, to the day we die. Alhamdulillah. I went there in my early years, and then in around 9th grade, I was playing sports. I was playing football, and I begged my mother countless times, like, yo, I want to play high school football.
Yeah.
So true story. My coach, Coach Dante Jones. Shout out to Coach Dante Jones. He's fathered a lot of great football players, myself included. Let's drop that in there. So I was going to Islamic Community School, and basically him, me, my mother, and my father, we sat in the Popeyes, right? We sat in the Popeyes. That was the hook. Like, let's sit in Popeyes, and you know, right across the street from Emerson High School. And he basically pitched them and was like, look, you know, I'll make sure your kid won't have to pay for college. I mean, I'll put everything on it.
Wow.
And my mother was just like, he only weighed 165 pounds, you know, them big boys are high, so I seen him, blah, blah, blah. And then he was like, don't worry about that. He'll be fine. And I transferred to Emerson High School. And alhamdulillah, I was able to have a pretty decent career. Won state championship, season record holder for rushing yards at my high school.
You was running back?
Yeah.
That's why she was working.
You know, the shoulders, they have declined a little bit, you know, because I haven't been trying to lift the world anymore. Nobody's going to come try to tackle me anytime soon. Alhamdulillah, so I've run a parallel of being in sports, but also coming from a very conservative Muslim household. My father is a former imam, 27 years in Baltimore.
Wow,
and so I actually earned a scholarship to a Division II school in Prince George's County. Shout out to Pretty Girl County, as they say, in Bowie, Maryland. Bowie State University. So shout out to Bowie State University.
So Wale was right when he said Pretty Girls. He was talking about PG.
Yeah. You know, PG does.
Wale.
Alhamdulillah. So yeah, he was telling the truth. So you know, I went to Bowie State University on full football scholarship. I'm sorry, backtrack. Shout out to Edmondson High School. We are the first state championship team there in like 40, 50 years or something like that. So we won my senior year.
So you saying you were a history maker?
History maker. Most rushing yards and touchdowns ever in a state championship game. 308 yards, 3 touchdowns.
You need to put that on my About Me page on your website.
That don't need to be on there because you know that's for when you just riding through Baltimore. You ask people who Tariq is, and then we let them do that. You know, I don't you know.
I feel you.
I feel like if you gotta say it, then it's like, you know, it really ain't. You know, it really ain't real. You know,
Yeah.
So yeah, I went to the Bowie State University. I did my undergrad in social work and family and child services. Was able to intern in DC at Columbia Heights Shaw Family Support Collaborative, and learned a lot just being from there, working with youth who were not much younger than me. And then after that, I graduated. I went to Howard University for my grad school. So one of my teachers is Dr. Altaf Hussein. Shout out to Dr. Altaf. If you all are familiar with Dr. Altaf, amazing brother who has been an anchor in the Muslim community as far as organizations for the last 35 years, something like that. And alhamdulillah, I've been in the arts and community work. And as of now, at Islamic Relief USA, in the communications department, getting a bird's eye view of some of the world issues in humanitarian work. So that's a little bit about me, and I'm also a husband to my amazing wife Imani and my 2 buck wild kids, Sana and Noor. So yeah, if you just happen to see them out walking, it's because I put them out and I was like, yo, y'all gotta go. So yeah, you want to buy 2 kids, come out.
Man, that's awesome, and we do appreciate that intro to give us more of a feel of who you are that helps Jabril and I kind of shape this conversation. One thing that I've seen throughout this, I mean, you are a Muslim, but at the same time, you're just a regular person, just like everybody else. You play football, you went to high school, you was in the trenches. For me, one thing that I saw was like, you're a football player, right? And you came from West Baltimore. What made you get in touch with that softer side of yourself, getting more vulnerable and becoming a poet? Like, you would think being a football player, especially a running back, like all you're about is just grit, brute force, and like you could be the type of individual that just runs through brick walls and stuff like that,
I think like one of the misconceptions that people have about certain areas and neighborhoods is that they aren't like compassionate people that live there and stuff like that. Even the guys who is like shooting up the whole neighborhood, they be the most soft-hearted people. They aren't, they aren't bucked up 24/7. And Baltimore is a place that has a wealth of art, and I was able to experience that kind of growing up just by like osmosis and just seeing things. I come from a family of artists. My older brother is Naeem Muhammad from Native Dean.
What's your brother?
That's my older brother.
Really?
Yeah, that's my second from oldest.
Yeah, we gotta talk after this.
Yeah, right. Man, bring him down, man. Bring him down. He'll be more than happy, man. He'll be more than happy. Just bring the whole family.
Bring the whole family down. We get mics.
My uncle is a painter, and my mother is an amazing writer. My father is a grammarian. He was one of the people in the 90s who was able to go take months here and there to go like study in Damascus. And come back to the city. And so I've been around language pretty much all my life. My mother is like, we say like grammar Nazi, like to this, I'm a grown man, and if I have to send her something, I'm always like, can you read this? I I just want you to read it. Don't give me, and then she'll send it back, and it'll have all these marks all over. I'm like,
the red pin marks.
I ain't asked you to do all this. I just said read it and just give me your feedback. So my family is a family of creators and artists, and alhamdulillah, I've just been able. It was just there. I'm the youngest, you know, so it's almost for me. I would say that this isn't. I'm like an art trust fund kid, you know. So like it isn't a thing of like I had to figure things out. Things were just there for me, and I've been very privileged, and I'm very happy to say I've been privileged in that. Yeah.
No, and it's nice that you kind of pay homage to that, because some people would not say anything and be like, oh, like I got all this inspiration.
I'm self-made. No.
Yeah, self-made. Like, nobody is truly self-made. You know what I'm saying? The fact you do have that support from your family, not just the moral support, but you actually have like the creative support, which is difficult, man.
Absolutely.
It's so difficult.
Absolutely.
But so how has the creative processes of your family pay tribute to like how you've developed over the years?
So my mother, she taught a lot of older, let's say people who are older in our community, in our school, at Islamic Community School. And one of the things that they'll say, and my siblings will say, so my mother, she taught a lot of like tenets of Islam and stuff like that through like rhyme and songs and stuff like that. And so I was at the tail end of that. So by the time I got to my school, a lot of the songs and sing-songy stuff that she had helped to create and stuff like that were already ingrained into the school. So, you know, I was, Anna, I am, Ante, you are me, Ante, you're a film. Like, stuff like that. Like, those stuff was already ingrained. So I kind of, it was later on in life, but they'd be like, yeah, you know, she made, like, that song is, you know, something she helped create or something like that. So that process, she's a teacher by default. Teaching me before she learned the art of teaching from going to school. So she's always had a green thumb. So she used to teach my siblings and stuff like that through songs and different stuff like that. So what it's given me the ability to be able to do is that like I've been like the cup that has been poured into in so many ways, because I've experienced those songs and learned through that way and stuff like that. So I've always been around that. Like, that way of learning and teaching and sing-songy stuff. And
your environment has just been plentiful.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. This is what happens. So, you know, make the sacrifice and do it, and then, you know, you can have like little creative, artistic soldiers pushed out into the world.
Yeah. You know, and that's one thing, especially coming as an immigrant, that my atmosphere doesn't think about, like my people. So for example, I have a little brother, I have nieces, and one thing they love to do is sing. They love songs. And I remember my niece was singing a song, she knew this song word for word. And her dad was like, oh yeah, why don't you know like the Quran the same way? And one thing that we fail to do is understand the culture. Like, music plays a huge role here in America. Right? So if we understand that and have that creative knowledge, like just like your mom did, like have those creative nuances, talk about Islam in a very soft, gentle way in music. Yeah. If we did that, I'm sure she might even be a hottest by now. Yeah. Kind of see what I'm saying? Yeah. But we look down upon that. Yeah. Because we want everything to be raw. But the thing is that it's not cookie cutter when it comes to religion or spirituality. Everybody learns their own way and develops their own way. Yeah. So you understood yourself, your mom understood the family. So that's one thing that I wish I could do. So the question for you is that that's the culture here. You know what I mean? So how can individuals from immigrating here start to understand that culture and start implementing Islam and teaching their kids? Because Jabril, we talk about this all the time. We talk about all these, you know, we got Dean Squad, we have a Native Dean, we have other people who do that. But then at the end of the day, my brother's bumming Drake. Right, for sure. Coming home, he dripping, talking about little baby, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is the truth, you know what I'm saying? So, right. Drip or drown.
And I told Mo, because I asked my cousin one day, right? We bumping Dean. His mom was like, "Oh, this nigga Dean Squad song," and it was, you know, we were sitting there like, yeah. Then we go in his room. He's 10, and so I was like, "Yo, so you like the Dean Squad song?" He's like, "Yeah, it was good." Yeah. I was like, "Who's your favorite rapper?" He's like, "Drake." Right. So you know, we talk about this all the time. It's vital for us to be able to be in positions where we aren't just somebody's favorite Muslim artist, but we're also somebody's favorite artist. How do you feel about that, man?
I would say it's a thing of like you have to intentionally cultivate art amongst young Muslims so that it goes, like you said, not just Muslim artists, but just artists in general, so that okay, if we do like a poetry, spoken word or something like that, right? And we do it at the masjid or something like that. And people do 10 poems. Yeah. 7 will be like, yo, we need to get better, right? And then you'll have like those 3 kids that you're like, oh, this might be, right? But if we're more intentionally pouring into that, then we'll have, like I said, that army of young artists who are able to compete on a high level. I'm a big proponent of it has to slap. Like, you can't just say, oh, praise Allah over the beat and think people are going to be like, it's the same thing where you're saying, oh, well, this is a black-owned tissue company, right? Yeah. If the tissue doesn't do what it needs to do, then how will it compete on a broader scale? Yes. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So it has to slap, it has to knock. So you gotta have bars. You gotta be able to. It can't just be like So I think a lot of people struggle with sometimes Muslim artists because you can see they're just intentionally being like, let me just place Allah right here. Good, right? Yeah. No. Like, you really got to dedicate yourself to being able to, like, rap with the best of them. Yes. And so I think definitely in the poetry community, we've been able to do that. So, like, the poetry laureate for 2017 was a young Muslim person in Baltimore, and Baltimore has won like the last 4 years of poetry competitions nationally. So that's a pinnacle peeking out of like. It's just like that, man. It's in the water, man. It's just it's just there. It's where there's conflict, where there's certain struggles, there will always be like this last effort of expression. Like, you can't take expression away from us. So when people are suppressed, the last thing we can do is express ourselves and try to tell our truth. Philly, Husna Hashim, another sister, I think she's the 2018 or 17 poet laureate of Philly, Muslim sister. Philly is deep in poetry. Yeah. So, but that's because those are 2 people who were cultivated in environments that brought the best out of them. So I think for us, it's really like being important to say, okay, this person has a talent. Yeah. Let's make sure we pour into them and not just make it such a side thing. Yeah. And that way we can keep them home. So they're not losing themselves, losing their values, losing their morals. I love that. Right? And you're representing more of than just saying, hey, this is just a Muslim rapper. No, this is like our like secret mole. Like creeping Sharia all up in the lyrics. But you have to do it. It can't be like this is our one art program that we're going to do once a year. And you guys what kid is getting prepped up for that?
Exactly. But not only that, man, you don't want to, not pigeonhole, but you don't want to be segmented and say, oh, I'm a Muslim rapper, or I'm a Muslim poet. Right. Because at the end of the day, I just want to be seen as an artist. You know what I'm saying? I want you to see my work for my work. Yeah. Not just because of my religion. I don't want your support only because this is a Muslim podcast. Right. I want you to listen because what we put out there is quality. Right. And like you said, we watched a video earlier, actually, just coincidentally, we're talking about how mediocrity isn't going to cut it anymore. Like, you either got to have it or you don't. Like you said, you got to slap, right? Go with it. Right. So we see that a lot, is that people ride that wave of, I'm Muslim, I want Muslim audience. But it's bigger than that. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much more to what we can provide people. What we know in this religion is for everybody. You know what I'm saying? It says, oh, you who believe, not oh, Muslims. Right. Yeah. So, that's dope, man, that you have this creative outlet and you grew up with it. Yeah. That's rare, man. That's rare. Yeah.
One thing I want to add is that, like, that isn't an end all of it. Meaning, if you feel like you've submerged yourself to say, hey, I'm Muslim and now I want to present this art and it's not up to par, like, you can still go in the lab and get better. Yes. I don't want people to think like you can't go get better. Yeah. Like, the whole point of all this is to say, like, eventually you'll be able to get better if you put the work in. So if you right now you say like that, well, I don't fit the bill right now. Yo, get in the lab, go in the bat cave, and like come back out in a year or two, and like we're gonna appreciate you for it, because we're gonna be able to say that you went from this to that, like you know, and it's a better story with that.
Yeah, I mean that's hard though, because you have parents coming up. It's like, hey, don't focus on that. You gotta study. You gotta become a lawyer. You gotta become a doctor. You gotta become an engineer. You know, that's not gonna make you money.
Yeah,
you know? And as Muslims, like we're like everybody else. I mean, we follow money too.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? But that's not meant for anybody. There was this one poem that you wrote that we'll go into later. I think was it illustrations maybe? I think it was illustrations talking about the image and everything. I'll go into that a little bit deeper. But there's one question I wanted to ask you in regards to just creatives. How do you feel about those individuals who are Muslim, but don't talk about the deen, don't make people think about Allah? Like, how do you feel about those people?
I would say you have to toe the fine line, because your art has to represent who you are.
Yeah.
And I will always say that people who produce physical work, this is all intellectual property.
Yeah.
When you die, this is basically going to be your biography, the art that you create. People are going to look and be able to make their own assumptions and develop their own convictions about your work.
Yeah.
You have to be very cognizant of the biography that you're leaving. Yeah. And with that being said, if you are somebody who attempts to be a devout Muslim, you do your best attempts, slip, fall here and there, then you got to make sure that it has to have something that says that, that screams that, as much as possible. You have to be able to indict, you know, so I have poems where I'm indicting the system, you know, and the things that I believed are oppressive and all of that. Yeah. But we also have to have the things that also introspect. Meaning, when I'm alone to myself and I'm left to my own vices and thoughts, you're not constantly in that mode. Nobody's constantly, you know, indicting the system or turned up or whatever. Like, we're not just one thing all the time. So who are you when you are left with your spiritual self? And I think you have to try your best to infuse that. So if you haven't already, nobody's stopping you now from saying it. And people later on, when those younger people, or thousands of years from now, or even people that's living right now, are able to find that record, they'll be better off for it. Because like, dang, okay, this person spoke to me. It's the same thing when you see like rappers talk about, yeah, you know, I was chopping coke, blah, 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 blah. But they don't talk about the mamas crying in the courtroom and all those things. So it's like, give them, we can give them both sides.
Yeah, give them the full story. And that's what we always leave out, you know what I'm saying? Because one thing that we realized early on when we started this was that the stories that we told that were like deep, they cut real deep for us. We knew in the offset that one day somebody might hear anything, whether it's a video or some of your poetry, whatever, and they're gonna be like, yo, I'm going through the same thing right now. You know what I'm saying? So when you don't think about it, but hindsight's always 20/20, right?
Yeah.
So you sitting there thinking about it, you like, yo, like my sister might listen to this and like it might not hit now, but like my dad used to always say, he's like, one day you're gonna be like, damn, my dad was right. You know what I'm saying? and what am I doing today? I'm like, damn, right.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So that's damn.
Yeah,
damn, that's true.
Yeah, it's all record keeping. That's all we're doing, and trying to make sure that people who are living can benefit from it. One of my mentors, D. Watkins, he'll always say, like, you know, make your work available now to people who are living and can benefit from it now, because a lot of times we like really laud people who are gone that we can't contact, we can't see, and so with that being said, we have to make sure that we are being cognizant of being record keepers, but also we want to touch people now, and just be somebody gonna read your work. Amir Suleiman, another amazing poet. He said you're gonna be somebody's ancestor. So
that's a great point.
What are they gonna say? You know, are they gonna be like, what was, you know, Muhammad's, you know, like what they're gonna say? So you have to be just aware. Just be aware. That's it.
I think there was one thing that you said was very interesting on the other side of the fence. You just talk about when you're alone, and throughout your life, you're always with people. You know, like when you're a kid, you're with your family. In high school, you're with your homies 24/7. You know, in school, on the bus, after school. But for me, the most loneliest time was right after college. Right, because I was on top of the world, just graduated, got that paper, you know, like I thought I can do anything, and then I got in the streets and I knew that I was nothing. You know what I'm saying? Not in a bad way. Nothing like I haven't done anything. Like who have I served besides myself? You know what I'm saying? Like when I was in those classrooms, I was just gaining all that knowledge. But when I got out, I was like, it's time to execute. And those times were very lonely because I just thought I had no self-worth. I couldn't make money for my parents who worked so hard for me. I got all this debt. All my brothers and sisters looking up to me. But then that's the time where I really took to know myself.
Yep.
Because I was broke, I was by myself all the time, just driving around, trying to find something to do. And those quiet times is where I spoke to myself, all right, Mo, this is the things that you like, the things that you don't like. You know, you have some mental health problems, just like I'm sure everybody else does. Like, you're depressed, go talk to your friends, make sure you're around people. But in the Muslim community, we never think about that. When we're alone, they were like, yeah, you know, they were in their room just chilling, playing video games. Like, our parents don't know, like, the battles that we go through. And vice versa, we don't know what they go through. So self-awareness is huge. And our Prophet, ﷺ, one thing that he used to always do when the world was crazy during the Jahiliyyah time, he used to go in his cave. He used to reflect. And that cave for us can be my room. Like, my cave is my car.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm in my car, I listen to podcasts. Like, that is my time. I don't like getting on phone calls. I'm just chilling. I got an hour drive. Like, I can't wait to get on my commute. Throw on the podcast, might throw on some music, might throw on some NPR, but that's my time to grow. That's my time with me. Like, you know, like, my goal for this year is self-care. I want to take care of myself because I've been taking care of everybody else my whole life.
Right.
You know what
Go as child.
You know? So I love what you said right there. Just not only that creative sense, what you're going to leave behind. Like, do you really know yourself? And that's one thing in our community that we don't know. We don't know ourselves. All we know about is the imam. You know what I'm saying? We might know about the community that we go to. We might know as many surahs as we can, but we really don't truly take the time to dig deep and figure out what we like, what we don't like, and what we have to do. So I just think that's very important.
Right. One thing I always say is like, don't add extra vices. So this is one point of just like knowing yourself. Like, don't add extra vices. So let's think about it as a diet, right? So for myself, I don't really care too much for like sweet stuff. My problem is the French fries, the potatoes, right? What's that thing I had the other day? I was at the Pecori, it's called Pecori's a potato thing. Look, the Vegas restaurant. Look, man, I had one of them things maybe 2 months ago. I had a problem ever since. I'm like, why did y'all give this to me? It's like potato is mixed up with sambusa, all that stuff, right? That's my vice.
Yes.
Yeah. Right? So in knowing self, this is just one, allegory. So when somebody says, yo, why don't you pick up, a candy habit? I don't even care for candy that much. Yeah. So I think a lot of, and just knowing myself, as just comparing it to diet, is that like, I'm not going to add nothing that I already don't have an affinity for. And I think what the world does and Shaitan does is just try to get us to like compound so many vices that we don't even, like, I need to work on this like main thing before like I'm adding all this other stuff. And speaking to what you said just about knowing ourselves and mental health and all of that, yo, it's so many people out here that go home and that's suffering and have no mechanism or taught way to cope with what they're going through. And we throw the book at them a lot and tell them, if you do X, Y, and Z, pray, whatever the case may be, you'll be fine. And for some that may work. But it's a lot of folks that like are walking around very empty. They're empty shells of themselves. They're just operating. They're just living day to day. They're just merely existing. And especially in this like super artificial age, you're also being like pressed to work on that shell. Like we're constantly like working on that shell, working on that shell. And people are like becoming more and more depressed. You would think people would be more happy because they're presenting so many like amazing. My day was great today. And you like talk to people and it's like, yo, I'm going through it. Like I'm miserable. That's just like a lot more pronounced now because we have like social media and stuff like that. But before, you could ask them, like, yo, what's going on? You know, I'm maintaining. You know, I used to say that. Yeah, I'm maintaining. That was the same thing. I was saying I had a great day, but it wasn't that like digging process. Like I really want to know how you doing today. You know, what's going on? Some things troubling you. You know, what are you suffering from? And I think it's just having a conversation and being open to the resources that we may have within our community, that will give us the ability to have those conversations, and not being like shy or scared about saying like, you know, some days I feel like checking out, and I'm not ashamed to say that because I know I'm among millions and millions of people
all feel the same,
who feel when I lay in my bed at night, this doesn't make sense. So some things aren't really adding up. The fulfillment that I'm supposed to feel about these accomplishments, about these things, are really dragging me through the mud. And I think that's what, as men, you know, we keep a hard shell.
I was just about to say that.
You know, and one of the things I've been trying to do with my work is that, like, you can be half and half. You can have a balance. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think a lot of times when men do that, people will like immediately put you in this box, like, oh, you're trying to be like some type of like meninist or like whatever the case may be. And I'm like, no, I'm Tariq. Like, I'm still like, I'm still myself. Absolutely.
I'm still
like,
with it.
You know, and it's the loss of this prophetic trait that we were taught. You know,
it's a prophetic trait.
That Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, day to day, meek, humble, you know, smiling, whatever the case may be. In the battle, right, the Sahaba used to hide behind him.
So
He's a lion.
It's fierce.
So he had a balance.
That's very
right?
true.
So we had.
I think that's your profile, right? On your Instagram, like the intro, it says something. It's like the lion. Never mind. I'm sorry, but like I read something that you had, and it started. It was like the lion. The lion was in all caps. So like you just saying that. Yeah. It was like.
So it's the truth, you know, that some days you have to be lion and lamb.
Oh man.
Right, like yeah. So with all of that and being forced to present a certain way, we don't really pull into the bucket of ourselves that's really gonna help us when things hit the fan. Like when you feel like the weight of your mind is crushing you. What resources, what outlets do you have? And we just have to keep on pressing those buttons and make people uncomfortable.
Yeah. What was one thing that's important? Both of you guys hit on it. You know, we are by ourselves a lot, but we do spend a lot of time with others.
Yeah,
we do.
Right. Yeah. And it's important for us to start having that open dialogue with our friends and just start a conversation. I remember there was one day, you know, like with us, it's easy to be like, yo, how you doing, bro? Oh, alhamdulillah, everything's good, right? Cool. I notice a lot of people do that up here a lot. Like, it's different back home, but people do that like, oh, alhamdulillah.
Because they got time up here.
Yeah, right?
Alhamdulillah,
but they feel like it, right? But we always feel like we don't want to inconvenience somebody with what we're going through. But as we just said, what we may be going through, someone else may be going through. And so we have to start opening up this dialogue between our closest of friends and saying like, bro, like, I'm actually not feeling right now. Like, something's not good with me. Like, I need y'all to make sure I'm not losing it. You know what I'm saying? Because when you open up that conversation, you start to feel better. You know what I'm saying? Like, why do we have to pay for therapists, people that we don't know, when we really should be opening up to the people that are closest to us? You know what I'm saying? Because after you leave the therapist's office, your therapist is about to get somebody else. But your friends care, you know what I'm saying? They have this love for you. Your family have this love for you. So being able to open up to people closest to you, that's when you know you reached another level of strength. You know what I'm saying? When you're able to do that.
That's true, man.
That's wild. Yeah, man. Like we breaking barriers over there.
Trying my best.
But you're right though, bro. Like you never want to be a burden on somebody. You know what I mean? You just want to take those problems to the grave or just back to your cave and just kind of break it down. But I mean, that's one thing. Jabril had a conversation about this. That can only come from a woman's touch. You know what I'm saying? That's just honest. Whether it's your mom, your sisters. I mean, I grew up with like my mom. There was a big portion of my life when my mom wasn't around because she was in Egypt, and I missed that aspect. Like there was nobody to jolt my heart back and be, kind of let it, like it could be a lot quicker, a lot bigger and brighter. was hard because, I was around my dad a lot and he was just working. I didn't get to have those type of conversations. So I was like, cool, well, if you ain't talking about it, I can't talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So we just always had that cold shoulder, and I was trying to talk to my homies about it. Like, Mo, just, you suck it up. Suck it up. Just keep your chin up and just keep moving because ain't nobody really worried about you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that's very true. But when you have that relationship with your mother and your sister, that side you starts to open up, and you can't be complete. You can't be a complete person without the other side. Yeah. Because that shell is only 50%. That 50% is inside. Yeah. So if the inside ain't right, no matter how hard that shell is, when you open that joint up, you're like, dang, this joint dried up.
You're gonna be hollow.
You're gonna be hollow. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, for the people that are listening, if you kind of feel that way, I would definitely start connecting with the women in your life. Like, connect with your sisters. Sit down with them, whether just the women in your community, have a conversation with, like, the women in our lives are just, they're brilliant. You know what I mean? They can do things that us men can never do.
Yeah,
But we put them to the side so quick.
Yeah.
Because we think, they're not worth it, but, it's just women talking.
Right.
Talking about, but they have an essence of life that we can't gain. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's just very, very important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, one of the things that is interesting is that, like, you have people say, like, nobody knows, like, white people better than, like, black folks in America. Why? Because I've had to study you to survive.
Yeah.
I have had to learn every flinching behavior of you to make sure that I'm okay, that my kid's okay. So I have a PhD by the time I'm 10 of white folks. Well, women, because they've been a subjugated group, like, who knows who knows men better than women? Because they've had, since the beginning of time, they've always had to, like,
that's a good point.
Make sure,
can't press certain buttons.
Yeah, let me, make sure, right, and to make sure my kids survive and things of that nature. So, I think when you speak into that, it's because they just know more, because they've had to know more. They've been forced to know more about how we tick. And it's just like, it's kind of just, now I'm at a point now where I just kind of like just silently listen and just try to like digest and just take in, if they're willing and able to offer their thoughts. And just trying to make sure that, like, I'm not jumping to respond, I'm not trying to cut them off or whatever the case may be. And it's been beneficial because now I believe the window is opening slowly. And now I'm seeing, like, dang, we might have been dead wrong for doing it. That's why I see, like, it's kind of wild. And so, with that being said, I think it's just important that we open doors as much as possible within our own might and right for them to be able to do that and then come to us and be like, hey, this is, I say it a million times over, my wife is like 300 million times way smarter than me, like, just flat out. But I got the gift of gab, so, so it's like, so I'm slick out the mouth, so it's, right? Talk you in circles, like, but with that being said, it's just like, they're going to be able to see the forest for the trees a lot more than us, because they have to. It's not a thing of whether this is this or that, it's because it's out of necessity for survival. This certain group of people has had to just to make sure that we are right? So, alhamdulillah, you got to benefit from sisters. So shout out to the sisters.
Especially during this month right here,
Yeah, it's Women's History Month, so definitely. And if I said anything that would be misconstrued, then, you have all rights to correct me. Been being corrected since I was little, so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we even see in the lost creation where women, not just human women, but even the female creatures, you know what I'm saying? We rely so heavily on what it is that they provide. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. When you think about bees, right? How vital they are to our ecosystem. Yeah. And all these bees work. Right. One, they work in service for Allah, right? But in that hive, it's the queen bee. Yeah, of course. And they're all working, all these bees working for the queen bee. Yeah. You know what I mean? Ain't no king bee. The king, look, just like the spider, the same thing with the bees. The male, he's this small. He's got one job.
He's got a big head.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But you see, the woman, they have this power. They have this destiny where they're meant to help us see the road ahead. Yeah. We might see the goal, but the woman is there to help guide us along the way. You know what I mean?
Listen up, man.
Yeah, man. So we're going to get to the book. I feel like I'm loving the conversation we have. You know what I'm saying? We're going to get to that.
Saturday,
Yeah.
It's okay.
Saturday vibes, man.
Overcast skies. It's fine, man.
So we're going to just chill a little bit.
Just relax,
I want to know more about your support within your house. Your wife, we're talking about the woman. Yeah. How has your wife, being married, matter of fact, like going from single, right, and being a creator to being a married man, and being a creator, and then an author and a speaker. So how has your wife influenced this whole creative process?
Great question.
Panorama. She's Miss Panorama, panoramic view. She sees the lay of the land. I didn't own a passport until I met my wife. Right? I didn't like, it wasn't, it was like, I'm city and that's it. Like, what does this saying say? Why go anywhere else? So I remember one story is that, so Howard, they have a international service learning trip every year for the grad school students to South Africa. And basically you go on an immersion journey, spiritual, structural, social journey to understand the developments of apartheid, to understand the everyday people who suffered through apartheid and people who are still living from the residue of it. And I remember the teachers there being like, yeah, you should apply, whatever case may be. I'm like, man, anyway, let me just get my paper and walk up out of here, because I'm not even trying to hear none of that. It just wasn't off of my, it wasn't just implanted in my head. And then I made the fortunate mistake of just mentioning and passing to my wife, man, they trying to get me to go to South Africa. Why would they even pick me? What's the odds of that? Somebody, she was like, duh, why wouldn't you go? It's just
you're like, what do you mean, duh?
Stupid, And so the day that Nelson Mandela passed away, I did my interview to go to South Africa.
Wow.
And I think maybe 2 weeks later, I got the okay. And it was one of the most life-changing experiences I've ever had. And South Africa is interesting because they're only 20 years or so out of their Jim Crow. Yeah. So it's fresh. It's palpable when you go there, and they're still having the struggles there. And when you go there and you see the land, and I went to Cape Town. Yeah. Whew, I mean, subhanAllah, man. You just see Allah is the supreme painter. He's the supreme architect, because the land is just lush, and the places that people inhabited, the Zulus and stuff that inhabited those places before they were sent to the flats and pretty much the barren lands. And that was all attributed just because of my wife being listen, idiot, fill out the application, just go ahead and and just go ahead and do it and see what happens. And so ever since then, once you get bitten by that bug of seeing things, it's over. I'm addicted now, just to when I can, seeing what I can of just things outside of the usual pockets that I'm living in. So that's helped. It's helped my work. I think just as a creative. So my wife, she's taking her pre-med requisites. Oh, wow. So her line of thinking is very structural, right? Very left brain, and I'm more right brain. I'm well, how do we feel about this? Let's talk about. She's no, this is very concrete, and I think alhamdulillah for myself it's been a blessing because we are developing into a representation of how you need to move forward as families, you know, as Muslim families, where, yeah, you can be a doctor. Like, go for it, right? I'm all for it. We had a conversation one day. She was like, yeah, I'm going to go to PA school because doctor, it just seems tough. We got kids, da-da-da-da-da. And I, like, almost slammed on the brakes and was like, no, yo, you going to school. Like, flat out. Like, you're going to do it. But also the fact that I'm an artist adds a dynamic of we need to be engaged in things that stretch our minds and stretch our hearts. And a lot of times, especially, you know, where it's first generation immigrant, second generation, it's lawyer, engineer, doctor, or die. Or get out my house. Like, and that has its use. But, you know, like somebody said, you know, our next roomie is in somebody's hospital doing surgery, depressed as all outdoors.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so we have to have that balance. I think that's something that we're working on. And inshallah, you know, it's something that can come to fruition. But she's been a help with that because she doesn't really invest so much in like the idea of poetry and then all of that, right? But it's more so I'm invested because I know that my husband is working on a portion of our community that needs that art to expand it. So it's more mission driven, right? Because you can't get somebody who really ain't in the art like that to be in the art like that. It just don't even fake it. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't even fake it. But I can be invested in your mission.
Is she down with the
mission, bro?
Overall mission.
Mission, right? She's down. So all my young brothers out there listening, mission, right? If she's down with the mission, then you be A-okay, right? You go through hell and high water and be okay. So.
Bro, I mean, that's something that we talk about all the time.
You're hitting buttons right now.
You know, regards to marriage, you know, and then that's one thing that people don't talk about is the mission. It's like, you know, you find somebody that meets this criteria, which is where's she from? Does she speak Arabic? Can she read the Quran?
Right.
You know what I mean? Does she come from a good family? Does she got bread? You know what I'm saying? Like all
Does
that.
she look good?
Right. And once you got that, your dad give you the thumbs up. Like, go after that, son.
Yeah, she tight. Okay, all right, cool. I approve too. There we go. All right.
But then you go on the other side, you marry her, and then on paper, she's phenomenal. She's a doctor, has a PhD, but then at home, you're miserable. You're fighting all the time because the mission isn't lined up, you know, and you're like, you know, you're never home, and I just want to spend time with you, and this, that, and the third, because you don't understand the mission, you know. But when you have somebody that understands overall mission, like I said, she may not have to be so deep into the arts and everything like that, but she understands the mission. She supports the mission. So whatever comes along, she'll be with it. But it's vice versa. One thing that guys don't do is that when they have a mission and their wives aren't on board, they're like, all right, it's either we do this or don't. You can't do that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm going to do this today and that's it. No, it's all right, this is what I'm looking to do. You know, can you help me make this better? What do you think? And then vice versa. And if not, all right, how do we find a way to kind of be in the middle? I'll sacrifice, you sacrifice. But at the end of the day, like, you're my teammate. You know, there's one thing that brothers do, especially from immigrants, that it just kills me, is that they don't take their wives with them everywhere they go. I just think that's very weird. You know what I mean? They would rather be with their homies. They would rather be with their cousins 24/7. And then they come home, chill with their kids for about an hour, tell their wife to make dinner, then they sleep and they back up in the morning. Like, I don't get that. You know, people don't want to understand their wives. Like, that's something that's huge. You know what I mean?
I was at GW and I had a performance at GW, and I think maybe like the fourth poem, my 2-year-old comes down the little aisle thing, barefoot, right?
Well, this is why you said they be out there.
They out there, bro. Like, it's, you know, it's every man for himself. And so she comes walking down. I'm still performing the poem. I mean, of course, I've been through this a million times. Like, oh, she tripping. Okay, let me continue, whatever the case may be. Then she comes and just stands beside me, like, just chilling. I'm like, all right, whatever, cool. Mine is a paid performance. This is, you know, it's professional, right? This is gotta be on your P's and Q's. My 4-year-old comes down. She's also in her. She has on socks. You know, she has some sense. You know, the first kid, mashallah, right? And so it's that was a representation. I finished the joint. You know, after finished the poem, like, yo, I'm gonna let y'all know now, like, anytime you invite me and it's not out of our way, I'm gonna have my family with me. There's just
straight up. Yeah.
Like Kevin Gates. My family gonna be with me. Like who else? You know, there's no management or all this. There's all this apparatus, whatever case may be. It's my folks, and you know, and that's it. And then that's how we ride. So even if it's an engagement where let's say they want to come and pay me to come talk, pay me to come perform or something like that, there'll be times where I'll be like, look, just pay for my family to come, and that way they can just come have this experience with me. But I think it's just you have to roll through life as a unit.
Yeah.
This is like, you know, and like to not want that, to not like you should want to be mobbed up with your family. Like you should,
right?
This is our little army. You know, appreciate that because a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people don't have a lot of family they can lean on. They don't have spouses that they can rely on, and they can make sure that they are okay and people got your back and stuff like that. So yeah, it will be little feet for as far as you can see in the future. So at our you know, at the stuff I do and all of that, because this is my army. You know, like, so like the idea, like, you know, your wife is not like an accessory. You know, it's not an accessory. She's not a jacket that you put on, right? She's like you know, the same thing as the bones in your body. And if you start treating it like that, you'll start to see that like your family will be blessed beyond measure in like wealth and just spirit. Like you know, so like now if I be like, yeah man, you know, they said kids ain't allowed, it's like, whoa, you switching up on us? Like, you gonna do this to me, right? You gonna leave us home? And I'll be like, look, this is the people said, you know, they don't want any kids running around. So it's like, okay, all right, no problem. But for the most part, folks know I've been countless engagements and stuff like that. Family gonna be there.
Yeah. You know, when I was growing up, my family, because I grew up as an only child for a majority of my childhood, right? And when I was coming up, road trips. And I, you know, as a kid, you just like, yeah, we're going here. But like my parents, they would take me on like the missions, like conferences. We're going to Chicago, Detroit. We're going to New Medina, down Mississippi. You know what I'm saying? So like, as a kid, that really affected me in a way. It was like, yo, my parents want me around. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't drop me off at grandma's house. I didn't stay with my aunts, my mom. Like they were like, no, we want you to see what is going on. We want you to see that we care about you and we want you're part of the team. You know what I'm saying? So like now as I'm older, I look at that relationship with my parents I have now, and it stems from that being by their side all the way from Virginia to wherever, Canada, wherever we went. It was like, no, we do this as a family. Because all of us now, like the mission that my pops had, you know, that my mom is on board with is what I'm continuing. And so you talk about that legacy you leave behind. What is it that people are going to pick up of your work? You know, as a parent, and maybe you can attest to this, you know, I was talking to my parents about this is, you know, your parents have certain goals, right? And their end goal might not be something they're going to see. But I guess the goal of parenthood, I don't have any kids, I have a cat. Right? Cool. The goal of parenthood from, you know, when I was talking with them is to take that goal and pass on the torch. But not just to pass that goal, but for them to build on top of that. You know? So just continue that work.
Yeah, the only reason my kids in here, my 2-year-old got a fever. I'm just being real. Yeah, that's the only, like literally the only reason. This morning I was like, yo, good. And so she was laid out. I was like, all right, forget it. Yeah. But yeah, you gotta have your folks with you, man. You gotta have that. And then like, I grew up in a community where it was nothing for like, you know, a brother to have his wife sitting on his lap at the masjid. It was regular. It wasn't anything weird. Now if that happened, if you walk into the masjid, people be like, what is, we're married 25 years, we got kids. You think we haven't touched each other? Like, this is, so it's just, it's interesting, man. That's all I can say.
Hold on, can you go deeper in that? Because I was actually thinking the same thing the other day where there was a story, some brother was just like telling a story. He was saying how a convert came in with his wife and they were like very curious. His wife was very curious. And they sat down during Jummah together, and they were trying to separate them. The guy's like, yo, I left the masjid once because y'all were like too much, and now my wife, I'm bringing this woman who's a part of me, and y'all want to separate us, like, why?
Yeah, I think that's a tough judgment call because you'll have certain rulings that definitely say, you know, men and women should be separated, especially a place like Jumu'ah. But I would say the prophetic tradition of calling people to account for things is a very, very fluid massaging process where it's not like, especially if you know this person as a convert, I hope you're not like kicking down the little prop up wall to the sister's side and like, let's go, get her now, drag her out. Like, you know what I'm saying? I hope you're not doing that. I hope you're trying to have a healthy conversation. It might be something you have to address after the khutbah. Like, you know, like, hey, let me holler at you real quick. This is something that, you know, we really don't do. What would you like to see happen there so that you're more comfortable? Easy. But I know a lot of times we be like, nah, like what? You gonna catch this work right now? Like I'm trying to, and I'm feeling like that Jumu'ah like Muslimness. I'm feeling like extra Muslim on Friday. I'm at your neck, like I'm at your neck. You know, no matter what happens, I'm at your neck, and you just gonna have to deal with it. Yeah. And that's unfortunate that we operate in that way, but our antennas for compassion are so turned down that we don't really give people an opportunity to grow. Man. So you got to catch this fire and brimstone right now. You got to know that you're going to hell right now and that there's no way of turning back, and what you're doing is demonstrably wrong, and I am looking down upon you forever. And that is the craziest, given our tradition and the people we have welcomed into the folds of Islam, murderers, robbers. Like, we had some hard people. You know, it's interesting. Abu Dhar, radiallahu anhu. I remember Umar Suleiman giving a talk, and he was mentioning a hadith where Abu Dhar, when the Prophet was telling Abu Dhar, don't find yourself in a mirror over 3 people, right? And I was like, that was wisdom, because he knew his essence, his aura, and the way he dealt with people, and he knew that he wouldn't be a good person to be in leadership, right? And Abu Dhar really wanted to be in leadership. And so I'll find out later, at another lecture, that Abu Dhar is a reformed, like, robber. Like, that was his business. He robbed caravans. Like, that was his entire life prior to Revelation. Oh. Now I get why he was sent. Because he bringing those same type of, like, you can't bring those characteristics to wide masses of people. It has to be a refining process. Same thing with Malcolm X. You know, I mean, I love to please with him. He had to be very refined, granulated, you know, and distilled and all of that.
To the bear.
Before we can, you know, imagine if they put him on a podium like after reading one book.
Big Red.
You finished you finished the dictionary. Cool, go ahead up there. You know, is the conch out yet? Yeah, it's been 2 days since I had it out. You know, my curls starting to come back. Fadl, go ahead. Go ahead. Stand up there, talk to them, right? He was saying some crazy stuff.
So I read this one book,
right? Exactly. I finished this one book, and I'm ready to. So it's a very slow process of like getting people to optimal level.
Yeah, but we always feel this pressure to go. Learn. It's like, dude, everybody's pace is different. And you know, you mentioned earlier, Muhammad, how, you know, when you're sitting in your car and you're able to understand yourself, you get your vibe. It's not just about understanding yourself as a person, as a human, as a creation. Understand yourself spiritually where you are and how comfortable you are, because everybody's level of humanity is different. Everybody's level of taqwa is different. And we have this, especially I feel in the Muslim community, and I love how a lot of my family, they come from a Christian background, right? Because you don't see this stranglehold so much in the Christian community as you do in the Muslim community, where if you don't feel like you have this unwavering faith, they look at you like, oh, you're not even Muslim anymore. What do you mean? Like I went through this period weird. We talked about like how difficult times after college. I went through this period of like, it wasn't long, but I'll never forget it, where I didn't want to go to Juma. I grew up in the mosque, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was a part of my life, and I just wasn't feeling it. Because I was, going through stuff personally, like you said, out of college, depressing time. Right. And, my parents never made me feel like, what, you don't love the religion no more? Yeah. We have to understand, like, it's not all sunshine and rainbows every day of the week. So we have to start understanding where we are spiritually to get to know ourselves and our relationship with the law. I was reading the Hadith. It was saying that even personal worship is a form of worship. Like, personal prayer is a form of worship, meaning we might, as coming up in a Christian background, it's very easy, to say some Christian du'as that maybe he doesn't know, come from Egypt, your family doesn't know, but that's still a form of worship. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, like, everybody's relationship is a bit different when it comes to Allah and the creation itself. And we discount that in the Muslim community a lot.
Yeah. I mean, there's one thing that both of you guys said that I thought was just really delightful, is just that compassion amount that you're talking about. We can turn that up. Because everybody talks about, hey, don't look up to these individuals, like these rappers, these stars. They're like, just look up to the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But they don't even do that. There was a hadith that I was listening to yesterday. I was talking about Aisha, about, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's wife. And the Prophet said that when she used to come to the door, he used to get up, walk up to her, kiss her, hold her hand, and put her in his seat. And vice versa. Right. So what that means to me is that what you're talking about, just bare bones, we're one and the same. Like, how many men do you know will ever do something like that? Oh, no. You know what I'm saying? They might grab her hand and walk her up right into the other room.
Walk you to the kitchen.
Right. My guests are here. Where's the shade? Like, my guests are here. Like, get working. Like, like you said, you would be back from the store. Come on, man. Rahman and all that, hungry, right? Like, what are you doing? Hurry up. I don't smell anything. Right? Yeah, man.
Come a long way, man.
Yeah, we come. Alhamdulillah. Yeah. We're still coming a super long way. I just think people are in their own growth process. I think, and we gotta be everything outside of the folds of Islam is very developed, very organized, very committed to drawing us away. It's a strong magnetic force. And Shaitan has been studying us from the jump. So he's right. We talk about, what is your 10-year strategic plan? Like in the corporate world. And like Shaitan is like, in the times. Like 10 years. He's like
working on this plan.
Right, exactly. Like,
I got 1 minute.
Right, exactly. It's like, how much time do I have? Right. The end of time, right? There's no, what we talk about, your key performance indicators. All right. Like, what are your KPIs? It's KPI. What? End of time, I'll be here. I ain't going nowhere.
I'm patient.
I'm with you, like the blood in your bloodstream. I'm here. So
every step of the way.
With that being said, we gotta be very careful, and we gotta hug and embrace people so that they feel like Islam is their home, and the people of Islam is their home, and you can always come back home, right? My father, man, he rough, but it'll be like, boys, you take care of your, go out in the world, take care of yourself. My girls can always come home. It's like, damn, bro, like, but we have to make that. You can always come home. Always come home. Yeah. We have to make it like that. And everybody that has had parts of their life where they had a home that was somewhat together, or they've grown into having a home somewhat together, the feeling of walking into a house, that's tidied up. It cannot be tidied up, but that warmth, that smell in the air that you get from your folks cooking, and that comfort you feel when you're around your folks. That's how Islam has to be. We gotta, what Imam Zayd said, come as you are to Islam as it is. So we gotta make it that home thing, inshallah, keep working to do that. So, shout out to all the people doing that. This podcast is a part of that. Thank you. Creating that, the soundtrack. So what my brother did with Nader Dean and, Joshua, Brother Malik is they created a soundtrack to life for young kids. And so the work that you're doing right now in developing this is you're creating an audio file. Okay, because now you can think of a song and it can take you back to a time period.
Yes.
In the future, people will think of podcasts and it will take you back to a time period.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Like, you be like, oh, I remember that.
That's a good way.
She had me she had me by the neck. You know, I was really feeling it. It didn't work out. And you be thinking about that one Drake song, like, dang.
I'm just saying.
Right? you were speaking to me, right?
I was like, yeah, Jersey, you know.
Right. You know. Right? You trying to call up his manager. I just want to tell him thank you, right? So, right. Oh, man. Alhamdulillah.
So, right now, mashallah, we've been talking about it an hour now, just kind of with our own personal stories, but I love it. There's one thing that, I was looking at your shirt right now, and it said the pen is greater than the sword. And a lot of people, when they think of Islam, at least from the outside, they think it's the religion of the sword. You know, they think that everything was done with brute force and kind of, like we didn't pay homage to our scholars, to what they did. We think they think we just came just to go, but that's not how it was. So how did you come up with that message, and what does that mean?
So randomly, I had written it down somewhere, maybe like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And I really didn't think much of it. And I've always been into like design and things and stuff like that. Like so we had trades at my high school. So the trade that I picked was graphic design. So we like learned about a little bit about design elements and stuff like that. And I mean, I grew up in the tail end of the hip hop era. So it's like the clothes and all that type of stuff like that. So I remember throwing it on a t-shirt and being like, man, this looks really cool.
Yeah.
And then after that, people were like, yo, that's really dope. I want one, whatever the case may be. And I thought about just a more expanded sense of what this means, which has been attributed to so many people. So many people they're attributed to Imam Ghazali, may Allah be pleased with him. And I think it's some other people that they attributed to. I think later on down the line, it's like this white English guy who may have said it. You know, we're gonna go with Ghazali. And for me, I have always been a writer. That's something I've never strayed away from. I will always put my pen to the paper since I was 5. Since I was little, I've been telling stories. My father used to literally, his entertainment, sometimes coming to the house, I'd be like 6 years old, he'd be like, tell me a story. Tell me a story. And I'd be like, well, there was a dog, right? And, gone, right? I'm telling the story. And just the sense of that, we have for so long in our tradition in Islam been people who of oral tradition. And to know that there were Muslims who came here on the boats sanctioned by the religious people to bring us here enslaved. And we would the pen was ripped from our hands. And by some odd way of osmosis, you have people like Omar bin Said that Brother Amir was talking about last week, right? The only reason that he rises in prominence and relative safety in the period of time that he's living in is because he's writing ayat on the wall. He's literally putting the writing on the wall, right? Just by virtue of that. Maybe if he was reciting it, who knows? Maybe they'd be like, hey, this guy's, he's speaking in tongues. But the fact that he's writing on the wall. And so just by virtue of him making the point to write, allowed him to become this person that we can look to as a beacon of light. He spoke about the Jallo.
Yes.
Who wrote the Quran 3 times. By the simple fact that he chose to write. So I think the onus is on us, people who have a talent. Like, my folks, they sort of had a talent in writing, and they made sure that every avenue was open so that I could explore it. And to let folks know that yes, the sword, cool, you know, you need your guns and butter, you need all that craziness, right? Yes, whatever.
Yeah.
But at the same time, who then writes the story after that? And so stories are important because they can tell the truth or not tell the truth, right? You have a president right now who he's gonna go down as one of two complete idiots. He's gonna go down as one of the best storytellers ever.
Yeah.
Because he keeps a storyline. When he gets in his speech, he'll be like, the people from Mexico are dirty rats and they're coming to rape us. Did you hear about the person that came over, they smuggled in and they killed the lady and such and such and such? That's the story, right? And then he puts it on repeat and then Fox News echoes it. Boom, boom, boom. So when they finally put children in cages, it isn't like, oh my God. You've already been softened.
Because you already know. You've been conditioned.
You've already been softened. You already feel like, well, this seems pretty legitimate. You know?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, it's like...
It's kind of justified.
They are.
Yeah.
They are, you know, rats and roaches. So it's important for us to put pen to paper because, again, you're going to be somebody's ancestor, as Brother Mir says, Suleiman. And people are going to find your record. So in that sense, the pen is mightier than the sword because a civilization can fall.
Yes.
It can completely fall.
They all do.
And you might find one book and be like, oh. And that'll be the only truth you have about that.
Wow.
And so I was reading, it's a book by a brother named Wesley Muhammad called Black Arabia. And in it was talking about in 1992, the NASA archaeologists, I forget, it was university, whatever the case may be, and they had found the city of Atlantis, the lost city of Atlantis, right? In the Arabian Peninsula, and which is like next to like Yemen and Oman, right? But that really was where the Ad and Thamud people were from. Right? So in the Quran it talks about how the Ad people, the earth, ate them. So they found that the earth literally, the plates, so they explained it the scientific way that the plates, or whatever the case may be, literally consumed them.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
And so in the Quran it talks about like how the Ad people were like lofty, tall people, and then they built these pillars and stuff like that. So they found like the pillars and all that stuff. Whatever the case may be. So if we don't have that in our record in the Quran about those people, that story, then that means in 1992, thousands and thousands and thousands of years after these people have been gone, and that we look to their story as symbolism for what can happen when you're steeped in heatlessness. Then in 1992, they can be like, this was the city of Atlantis. It was ruled by these Greek people, and everything fell down because their city was too heavy. They had bad engineering.
That's true.
Easily.
You can dumb that down.
And it's true. It's true because it's in the book now. Like, done. So it's important that like then we can kind of see like, all right, folks who have that talent and we need to be constantly creating history and documenting
and telling your stories.
Yeah,
it's important to tell your stories, man. We talk about this all the time where when it comes to visualization. You know what I'm saying? What we see is vital. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? We grew up playing cowboys and Indians, not realizing like what that really symbolizes. You know what I'm saying? I remember back in the day we used to play like cops and robbers, and somehow I was always the robber. I'm like, yo, man, come on, bro. You know what I'm saying? As a kid, you think nothing of it, but then you grow up and you're like, yo, you were always the cop because you know exactly. So like him higher than the sword. Like when I first saw it, I was like, man, it's figurative. It's a figurative thing. You know what I'm saying? But it's also like it can be applied to so many different avenues of creativity. Like you need the people that are authors. You need the people who are spoken word artists. You need the people who are actors. You need the people who are musicians, because that's all storytelling. You know what I'm saying? So how you write in that story for people to say, oh, like, so I heard this, but then I've also heard that story. Let me do a little fact checking real quick. You know what I'm saying? Like when we got Brother Amir, he starts telling us facts about the Muslims who came here long before Columbus.
Yeah.
But you know what? He didn't leave it. I was re-listening to it, right? He actually gave homage to an Asian brother.
Yeah.
Asian Muslim.
Yeah.
Who came here.
Yeah.
Before them.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yo.
Right.
Asians need to do their research.
Exactly.
We all need to do our research and figure out who is this guy?
Right.
Who is this man?
Yeah.
We need to know his story because first off, how?
Right, exactly. Yeah. That's so random.
You know, so it's like we get the stories that are fed to us and we just keep them. But when do we ever adopt the truth of the story or get more details to the story so that we can evolve that and so kids can grow up when they're putting that pen to the paper, they don't just have this limitation of, oh, like I only have this narrative in front of me. Like, no, I know that my people, we've done countless things. Yeah. One thing I really like that you said, you didn't say that the Europeans were over slaves. You didn't say that. Yeah. You watch your lingo very closely, and I respect that because it's very easy for us to just discount them as people, scholars.
Oh,
you know, like these cultural icons that they were back at home, and we just say, oh, the slaves. That they
were. That's the whole point of telling your own story. I mean, that's why we started, because once again, as an immigrant, what is seen in the West is jahiliyyah. Everybody thinks the West is just ignorant. We're just dumb. We don't even go to Jummah. We don't pray. So I was telling Jabal, I was like, man, we have to tell the story. I mean, I could have used the story. I could have been in everybody's face. Like, yeah, we're not all terrorists. I could have done that. But I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and put pen to paper myself. Let me go ahead and tell my story, tell Jabril's story. And that's how we started this platform. Because, like everybody says, if you don't tell your story, somebody else will. And it may not be the truth.
True.
You know? So.
Absolutely. I think you just discount yourself and you leave a lot to people to create and imagine about yourself and your people. And there's a concerted effort to distort truth. Right? There's a concerted effort to distort truth.
Preach.
I had a brother asked me, he said, man, I'm struggling in my deen because I'm trying to make sense of, Arabs enslaving black people.
Yeah.
I said, that's a real thing, you know, let's address it. And I said, I'm not super well versed in that history yet, when I get there, I intend to give it its due time. But I am reading this book that is interesting and it touches on a bit of who is black within Islamic history and how it is spread and who amongst the Sahaba that we would look at now and be like, oh, it's just black guy, right? And I give him the book, and the book is full of scholarly research, all of that. He sends me back like 2-3 screenshots of a Facebook post of somebody ranting about enslavement of black people and Arabs. And it really broke my heart because what do I do with that now? There's nothing I can do with it. If I give you a book that somebody who has taken chunks of their life out to develop from their research and reading and all that, and you send me back a screenshot, whew, that's dangerous. I'm at a loss for, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what, because we are attempting to drink from two vastly different wells. Right? Like
opinions versus facts.
It's like opinion versus facts, or even opinions versus just discovery. Like there are very few places you'll find on anywhere on the internet where somebody is like, they'll say something and they'll be like, okay, you can find this here, this date, this is recordable, or anything like that. So you're just leaving things like up in the air, and that's cool. Opinions, alhamdulillah, Allah gave us opinions, but at the same time, I just can't really, I can't really go to battle with that. So I'm just like, hey, you got it. I don't know where to move forward from that, and so that's all it speaks to. Like who gets to say what and what becomes true. And the dangerous thing about it becomes is in 20 years you may have, because a lot of people are trying to come back to books and stuff like that, right? But in 20 years you may have people who literally they just got all the information from online. That's scary.
that's very scary.
I can type up any. I'm a writer, so I know I can. Yeah, and you know when
make it sound good.
You get what I'm saying? Like I was on a podcast and these brothers, we were in floating chairs. They were messing with the genie. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's on record. And 20 years later, like, yeah, they don't listen to that podcast. Right? Like, and it's true because it's there. Yeah. So we have to be record keepers. And like, that's why I respect Brother Amir so much because he's taking the time to do that. And it's very important. The last thing I would say, you know, as a poet, you know, I would consider poets are like a smoothie king. Let me make this make sense.
It's a smoothie king.
Smoothie king.
Hold on, let me reposition myself real quick.
Listen, this okay. This is the drop. Okay, this is a soundbite. You're about to get a soundbite. We're like Smoothie King. Okay, you go to Smoothie King. They mix up all the vegetables, make it very nice to have their recipe. They've been curated and collected and developed to make sure that this, when you get this strawberry fusion thing, oh man, it's amazing, right? But as poets, we take, you know, and storytellers, we take that information and we build it into smoothies for people. With the disclaimer that when you go home, you have to find out and eat from where this fruit comes from. Okay? And then also, you have to find out where it's grown. Right? And what's the original land that this mango has come from, and then the pineapple, and all these things, like what are the original source of these things? Smoothie tastes good. I'm doing my job. Like my job was to get you hooked, right? And get you to prick your conscience. But after that, you have to go ahead and do your personal journey of finding where the source of fruit and eating those vegetables and stuff like that. So if I'm making allusions to certain things and things of that nature, it's important that we do that, right? It's important that you find that source, and to say that we're constantly going to be in the business of just making smoothies now, it's dangerous. It's dangerous, and right, and the people who are making smooth, like I have to take my own personal journey. So when somebody asks me after the fact, "What are you speaking about?" That I am informed as well, right? So it's all this connecting. It's just like it's a swing, you know, link. It's important. Yeah.
You want to be so like when somebody comes to the counter and say how many calories in this, you know how many calories. You know what I mean? Exactly. Yeah, you know why the joint is good for you. Why it's like the energy booster. I feel you.
Or
I feel you.
Go right here. I can tell. He can tell you a little bit more. She can tell you about nutrition.
Exactly.
And like we'd be okay.
It's okay not to be an expert.
It's okay. It's perfectly. Everybody got their lane. You know, I make smoothies. I make some of the best smoothies in the world.
This man, he's those bananas right.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, you have a smoothie right here.
I was just about to
say, amazing, right?
Yeah.
I was going to say, let's definitely get into that smoothie and talk about your narrative and how you came up with this book. The first question that I have right here was that the name. How did you get it? Like the cover, like what came with that? 2 parts.
Let me drop. There's an amazing Nigerian sister named Farida Adam, young sister who designed the book. So you know, get at her for her graphic designs.
Shout out
to Farida Design. She is not on Instagram. She's one of those pillars who's off. She's one of those people who's offline, but is a killer with her work.
Oh yeah.
So you want some exclusive stuff. You want to, you know, find somebody who ain't everywhere.
Right.
Come to Death Row Records. No. Yeah, so she designed the book. My niece, she did the paintings on the inside.
Wow.
My cousin Anaya Avant, who is gonna shake the world up soon, inshallah. She wrote the intro, and I just want to make sure I do those drops now. But 2 parts of Oxygen. When I got pneumonia in 2008.
Wow.
2008. And I was in the hospital. I had been doing my first round of 6 a.m. practices. And my coach, he was a practitioner of if you play in it, you're going to practice in it. So we would go outside, rain, sleet, snow, and train in the rain at 6 a.m. workouts. And I had back pain at night, and my roommate was just like, yo, you sound like a wounded deer. We going to the hospital. So I went to the hospital. The nurse was like, you're going to be spending some time with us. So I'm thinking back. 2 days in the hospital, I'm good. a day turned into like a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Wow.
And the pneumonia put lesions over my lungs. So I don't know if you ever seen a lung with pneumonia on it. Yeah, it's so it puts like those BB gun shots all over your lungs. So when I tried to breathe deep, I would hack and cough horribly. I would be like, it was on the other side of the curtain. It was an 85-year-old guy who something was going on with him. He would be asking me if I'm okay. Like, you alright? Like, I'm like, no, man, you gotta leave me alone.
Are you alright?
Right, yeah. But that's how bad I sounded.
Man.
And so I had a hard time breathing. When one day the doctor came in and basically said the antibiotics are not working. She like leaned in again and said antibiotics are not working. And that was a very transformative period for myself and just understanding my own mortality. But I also told myself I'm not going to try to force myself all through the night to like try to breathe deeply. Like whatever Allah is placing my oxygen at right now, fine. So I stopped trying to force it, and things turned around for the better. Yeah. And it was a certain sakina, a certain serenity that kind of like happened for me. And so my family, I have two girls, two little girls. My family period has brought that same type of like peace. And so my first book was full of indictments, right? I say full of indictments.
Can you explain that?
Black Seed is the first.
When I say an indictment, an artist indicts, meaning it artist calls to account the things that they see tragically wrong in the world, and they want to make people aware. And I think a lot of times we can get lost in the world of indictments, and also not speak to the things in our life, the people in our life, that maybe it's just for a hot second provide some type of comfort and some type of peace. And if we don't do that, I think that's a disrespect to those things. And also I'm very intentional about context. So we've been living in Northern VA for about 2 years now. So for me to be like talking about the guns and drugs and all the stuff like that in the system, and while I'm living in Northern Virginia, I don't think that would pay respect to the people who I grew up with, and I know now that see the Billy Club and the road police every day and see those things every day. So it's my opportunity, it's my shining opportunity to write about those things, because I'm going through a period of like solemnness and silence and reflection, and these are those thoughts spilled out on paper, and this is me like breathing. All right, let me breathe deep and think about all this stuff that I've seen, and experienced. So,
there's one poem in here in particular that.
Wait, right before you go into that poem.
Yeah.
Why did you break it up by the prayers, by the salats?
I remember hearing. I remember hearing Imam Suhaib saying, we should let, I'm paraphrasing, he said we should let prayer articulate our day, right? And not the other way around, right? Look, I'm doing the same thing, because
that's how you felt this morning after you prayed Fajr.
We'd be like, yo.
Remember after you prayed Fajr, I feel so good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
saying? Let that be like your planks, right? Instead of like, I'm doing something, I gotta pray. It's like, no, I gotta pray. And I also had the stuff I had to do throughout the day. That was a rhyme, so take that. So I wanted this book to kind of represent that, and also there's an abundance of poems in it, so I wanted to give people, also act as a break. As a break. Okay, cool, we're moving into a different section. We're moving into a different vibe. And alhamdulillah, like, it worked well, and I think when people come across that, when they come across the art changing, it's like a good like clean slate before moving on to something else when you read through it.
So you can almost take a little break,
right?
A little sabbatical for a bit.
And also the verses in there from when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala he's addressing Musa alayhi salam, and the questions that Musa alayhi salam asks him, when he's called to like, all right, I know you're here for provisions, but Pharaoh, I need you to go holler at him for me, right? And he's like, I don't even talk like that. Like, unknot my tongue. Then he asks, well, can
be my brother?
Be my brother. Right?
It's articulate.
Bring my brother. So for me, since this was so much about family, so much about unknotting my tongue, right?
Wow.
And so much about becoming firm in faith, that I thought that would articulate it pretty well using all of those elements in one. Like that's the smoothie, right? That's So they're putting it all together. And so if you're not Muslim, read the story of Musa in the Quran. So that's the source.
There's really funny and coincidental.
What'd you say?
That's a Musa caught a body.
Yeah, Musa a whole body. Yeah, a whole body. A whole body. Right.
It was accidental.
If Moses caught a body, then you can. No, I'm joking. You can be resurrected from
mercy.
From wherever depths of where you're at.
So what's ironic, this is the second time in 2 days, last 24 hours, that the story of Musa, As-Salaam, has been brought up to us, right? And what's also very funny is that my mom calls us Moses and Aaron.
Oh yeah, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because it was like again, like I told you, I was only child for majority of my life. Got younger sisters, went to college. He was the first Muslim dude I ever went to school with.
Oh wow!
So it was wild, you know what I'm saying? And I'm the talker, I'm the mover, I'm the shaker. This dude comes up, he's just like quiet, he's just like handles business. Right. And so like when we started the podcast, like I'm the talker, so my mom's like, like both of you guys got the message, but Allah bless y'all to come together. You know what I'm saying? That's a Moses and Aaron, you know what I'm saying? Sure. Moses and Aaron sort of deal. So, that's very intriguing that you use that story to signify one, family, but then like a unity and purpose to serve. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Dude, there was I've been wanting to say this one for a minute. There's it's called Planets. Planets. I mean, look, man, I got it on my phone. Maybe you know it already by heart, which I mean, I don't know how that works with knowing all these poems. You know what I'm saying?
So some of them are not memorized. I'll tell you that.
But this one, look, if you don't mind, can you read this, man?
Oh yeah. This is a shorter one. So what I tried to do, it's interesting. People will. You either hate Insta poets or you're indifferent to them, or whatever the case may be. I always say I can dabble anywhere, and so, so Amiri Baraka is one of the people who made what is called like the loku, right? So he said things like, if Elvis Presley is king, who is James Brown? God, right? You know what I'm saying? Like he would. It's a low cool, right? A very short way of saying whatever case may be.
Well, before you read that too, reading through the book, there are certain themes that stick out: fatherhood, being a married man, love, compassion, unity, right? One of the things that has been like a beacon of the last, few months since I've been here, is self-image. And that's why this poem in particular stuck out, because it's how do you view yourself? And I think we've been talking about that this entire time. How do we view ourselves as Muslims, as humans, as creators? So if you don't mind, let's read that and then let's dive.
This is called Planets, and it's more so a question. She told me she is the darkest girl in the school. Darling, have we ever asked planets to apologize? And so I mean, clearly I'm a very dark, handsome, marginally tall young man. So I'm messing with y'all.
Young, Muslim, and handsome.
We're a lot of things, but I remember. So I grew up in my teens when Bow Wow came out.
Oh.
Right? It was like Bow Wow before Wayne hit.
Yeah.
Right? So it was like, yo, if you wasn't like brown skin with braids down to your shoulders, it was tough out here. Yeah, you ain't have no game. It was tough out here, right? Then we got Wayne. It was like, yo, all right, we want the roughest, blackest thing we can find. And we good. It's like, hold on, we in now? All right, bet. Like,
we back.
You get saying the roughest, exactly. The more scars on your head, the better, right? and just the idea that we are Allah's creation, and He has made us into some of the most magnificent representations of His might and His grace possible. And to think that we have children in schools who are still being denigrated, right, due to their skin color, it's just horrible. And so the idea that the same source that created Jupiter and all the other galaxies took the time out, ain't have to at all to create you.
Yep.
What does it say for the person who has to survive through that colorism? And what does it say for the person who is invested in believing in that people are lower than them because they look, or they, you know? So for me, it's have we ever looked at Venus, Mars, right, and been like, that's an ugly planet?
Nah, we marvel at it.
We marvel at it. We should be marveling at all of Allah's creation. So it was like, you'll never be like, Saturn, explain yourself.
Yeah.
No.
What is this?
What is this?
Right? You are more curious as to like, how did you get to this beautiful state? If we come back to that reverence, oh man, Adam Clayton Powell from Harlem said, we got everything from chalk to charcoal. Black is beautiful, right? So it's like, sometimes it will ruin me just to think like, we don't think highly of ourselves. So it's just a question. Why are you apologizing for who you are? And the magnificent creator like did this. He threw you that oop of like existing and looking like this. He didn't have
just an extra little drop.
He didn't have to, right? He did. I mean, really, he did not have to create all these universes and galaxies and all of that. And he decided that you would live and you would become a being. Yeah.
So there was another poem that, this was my favorite, also depicted self-image. If you want to go ahead and read this one, the illustrations.
Oh yeah.
I really like this one a lot.
Oh yeah.
He knows this one. No question.
Yeah, this is all called illustration. And again, there are intentionally snapshotables in it. So anyway, this is one. By the time you decide to chisel a modest reflection and not the person you've constructed from the margins acquaintances fail to honor, you will no longer have the proper paint to craft the picture God intended. And that is another troubling thing, is that like friends are either like add to our self-worth or they take from it.
Absolutely.
Right? And I think a lot of times being Muslim in America, and if you grow up around maybe not like majority Muslims, or you can become like a contortionist in your own mind until where like the final product of who you are has been so chipped away that like you forget the essence of your person. And it's like people been telling you this, that, they give you all these different paints, whatever, and you just trying to, all right, let me make it right, and somebody's painting this picture, and then finally you say, you know what, I know who I am.
Yeah.
You look down at the bucket of paint and it's like gone, because you've been using everybody else's everybody else's input and all of that. And for myself, it's tough because I was born into a culture of teams, like playing sports, right? So you conform to the team. It isn't like you conform to the team. You submerge yourself within that, and it's just a culture period that sometimes you can lose sense of self. And there's some stuff I really intentionally wanted to speak to within the book with that, of us like, you can be who you are. As long as it's something that's going to take care of you when you're gone. And that You know, like, be who you are, fine. You know, as long as it aligns with you being okay when you're being questioned in the grave. If it doesn't, if it stems outside of that, I don't know, right? You know what I'm saying? You can't be like, yeah, I'm a murderer. Like,
I'm good with it.
Right? Like, no. You know, but if, you know, hey, I'm Muslim and have a Muslim family, and, you know, it's interesting because, like, my family, like my outside of my immediate family, you know, they're all like Bible thumpers, holy rollers, church on Wednesday, church on Friday, church on Saturday, church on New Year's Eve, like save your soul out here.
Yeah.
Ain't never been tension with us being Muslim. Never.
Right. Just love it, right?
Because it's just like, oh, you Muslim. You know what I'm saying? It never a thing, and they're holy rollers, like holy rollers. And I love them for that. And so the idea that you grow up and now later, like, people are questioning it. That's, I mean, for us, as, you know, it's like African Americans here, it's like this idea, like Islamophobia and stuff like that. We know it's a real thing, but at the same time, it's like, look towards the people who have been here and have immersed themselves in families. And ain't no, oh, baby, you know, oh, look, there's turkey in them greens right there. Those ones you don't touch. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's all...
No, I don't.
Who you are is like...
I saw that first experience with Jabril's family.
Yeah, it's like, oh, no, that's I cook that on a different stove. I got you, don't worry
the
about
family
it.
members that like to mess with me, be like, boy, you eating the pork.
Right.
Like, for real?
Doesn't taste like it, right?
I'll chance it.
But, you know, so many things attempt to take from who we are. So much. And, you know, you want to have a full bucket. When it's all said and done, you want to be able to know who you are and be comfortable in your skin with it. And it's not an overnight process. But when you get to a point where you start to know that maybe the world isn't even appreciating that, you have to start showing your teeth a little, like the wolf. I mean, like, all right, I am who I am.
Well, you have the one, and it's another short one called Acoustics, where you're like, how do they convince you to be a whisperer when everything in your soul stirs like crashing ocean waves?
Yeah.
So it's like, why are we so adamant on being quiet when everybody's, you know, trying to come at us? Why don't we let what's inside of us speak out and be like, no, this is who I am.
Right.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we fall back. A lot of times we fall back on ourselves. I actually felt that a lot when I moved here. You know, because of where I'm from, my background, stuff like that. There was this insecurity that crept in, like, am I Muslim enough? Right. And I told him, I was like, for the first time in my life, I felt lost. You know what I'm saying? Like real lost to the point, like, damn, I've never questioned my Muslimness ever. Right. You know what I'm saying? Not like obviously faith is one of those things that kind of ebbs and flows, right? Like, you question certain things, but I was questioning my existence as a Muslim. So this is my entirety, and I'm like, damn, have I been doing this wrong? And then I took a step back and I was like, no. Don't let what's going on outside of you
for sure
make you feel as though you're invalid.
Yeah.
Or your story, just because it's different, is invalid.
True.
So that's very important, man. And that's why the smaller ones, the smaller poems, I've been able to digest a lot easier. You know what I'm saying? And they've spoken to me, man. Like, that joint hit me hard, man.
That's what they're there for. I think, you know, again, people we don't really have to. I would say don't step outside yourself to speak to certain audiences, but you have to try your best within the right and the things that you believe in to make things palatable for people. So if it's something short and then it speaks to you, that's there for a reason. It's not just like I'm not just writing into the wind just to write to the wind. It's just that some things are easier to get and they may speak louder and it may just be like a chunk, right? And then be somebody else who has a time to like comb through and things like that. And all of those things, they're needed. Like, you need to be able to do. So it was important for me to create that balance, to create like a very succinct balance of that. And alhamdulillah, I think just with the design of it and everything, it did that. Like, when I finally got it, I was like, this is exactly what we need to be done.
So right now, I'm coming from West Baltimore, the way you were raised, how did you get the courage and the strength to let your homies know that you were a poet, that you were writing poetry? You know, how was that experience?
Yeah.
So it wasn't until like maybe like the end of my freshman year. So my freshman year I had a red shirt, and red shirting, for those who don't know, is I couldn't play for my first year. Just practice, I couldn't travel to games, anything like that. So you got a lot of time on your hands. But I was exercising, I was working out. So yeah, you know, I was getting better. You know, 2 a days on my own. I was focused, dedicated. And basically, they used to have like little programs and stuff like that, little art programs. And one day somebody asked me to share some of my work, you know, because he heard me like say something in class or something like that, and I shared it. People started clapping and all that, and then like some of my homies from the team, they happened to have been there, and they was like, yo, you gotta share more, boy. So like one shining moment, we had like a program on our like promenade, our like you know, the yard, and so one of my homies he used to drum. And basically, he was like, "Yo, I'm a drum." His like family's coming from a family of djembe drummers, right? Muslim brother too. He was like, "Drum, you gonna kick something?" So mind you, this isn't really a thing there. Yo, it drew a crowd. Like I was like, "What the heck?" So ever since then, I just been sharing more of it out in the open. That was kind of like my indicators, like, you may have something here. Before then, it was just like, I'll write to myself. And, you know, maybe I just had these things in my pocket. But, you know, my mother always say you can't walk around with the gift, the light in your pocket.
You gotta share it.
Share with the world, you know. So alhamdulillah, now I've been able to do that on a more broad scale.
That's funny because, you know, Allah gave us all abilities, and I feel like it was almost be a sin for us to keep that to ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We often think when Allah says in the Quran, you know, when you hoard, that's sinful. Hoarding your talents and the things that you can bring to the table is also on there. It's not about money.
Good point.
It's not always about money.
For sure, yeah, for sure. Don't, if you let it go, you know, let the chopper spray, as they say, like, you know, like, let it go. Let it go.
Take these poems.
Right. All of these, you know, you go get this work. Like, so it takes, I think a lot of times people, as we were speaking about it before, like being afraid to start and like commit to things. Like once you just begin it and you begin that journey, it was pain involved. So like don't let anybody tell you it's like it won't be all be sweet. There is pain involved. You will be overlooked. You will be forgotten. You will be passed to the side. Everything imaginable. But if you happen to keep going, if something in you decides to keep you driving, you'll be excellent. You'll be fine. You know, you'll get wins that you didn't think were gonna come whatsoever. So that's what's happened for me, is that like I've had to switch from 17 years of my life being sports and like running my head into other people's heads, and now bring this other thing, you know, like unfold this other thing. And it's had its bumps and bruises, because at first people were like, yo, like, you play ball, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
where you coming from?
What is this, right? And then like writing, like, you play ball, like, yo, this is not good. Like, let me get through my first 1,500 trash pieces of essays and writings and poems and boom. And it's like, okay, just wait. Like, y'all just wait.
Because I'm shooting in the gym.
Right, I'm in the gym. Like, you know, I'm in the gym. I started with 250 poems with this, and I ended up maybe like 103 or something like that. So it's like, you know, one thing I always say, like, it's not a joke out here. Like, folks is serious about their craft. If you give it time, you'll get better. You ain't gonna say you're gonna be on top of the world. Jimmy Kimmel may not invite you to a show, but you'll get better. And those who are invested in your work will be able to see that transition, and like they'll be with you for life. You know.
I mean, even just looking at your work, it looks like you got better. I mean, you were featured in the Baltimore Sun, HBCU 30 under 30. That's awesome. And then you got better, and then you were also featured on ESPN and at Al Jazeera Network. I watch Al Jazeera Homa. I know that's a mainly Arab network. I think it started out in Morocco, if I'm not mistaken. So Africa-based, but Arab ran maybe. And, so as a Black American Muslim, what did that do for you? What did that do for the legacy of others in America be on the Al Jazeera network, you know?
Wow. Yo, it's scary. I get anxiety every time something like notable or a lot of attention comes to me. I mean, I've been here for like an hour. I'm super regular, like. You know what I'm saying? So when things happen and maybe like end up being like larger than life, it gets a little scary for me because I never ever want to be like that person that's unapproachable and. Like for me, that's like super corny when artists are like that. You know, they can't stop talk to people and like just whatever. So being on Al Jazeera, one, it was an amazing opportunity. I felt like I was able to shoot a soundbite into the world that would solidify me in this particular point in time. Honestly, I knew what was happening. If tomorrow, you know, Al Jazeera calls you to and says, we're going to give you 30 minutes on the waves. When you're driving there, you already know how this is. You know you're already cementing yourself. Yeah. Fine. All right, cool. Right. I'm here. That's the nuffs part of it, right? That's like, let's get the nuffs out the way. Right, okay, I know what's happening. But also, it just goes to show that we have a group, a cohort of Muslims, youthful Muslims, who are authoring our story, and we have immense talent, and it's a call to action to invest in it from infrastructure wise and also from maybe, you know, my man, when he rapping, it ain't really that good yet, but I'm gonna give you $6 for the tape or whatever, you know, like let me go ahead because he might end up being up there. And what happens if you haven't done that and then he ends up there? He ain't gonna forget you played him. Like, he's not gonna forget that, right? He gonna be like, damn, man, you played with me. Which is to say, we're not sanctioning stuff that don't slap. You know, we said that in the beginning. Yeah, exactly. It has to slap. But
if it's good, it's good.
It's about also sending a message to people who maybe overseas and don't know anything like that. Yeah. And, you know, everything is subtle. The fact that, you know, I wore, you know, the collarless shirt and all that. Right, you know, we got to creep the Sharia in there, you know, like everything. People would see, what is this Muslim kid up here doing? What is he talking about? This indictment that he's making against the system of tyranny and stuff. And if you're in Egypt, then you know about, like, indicting the system. Like, I'm talking your language, right? So it's like, to the broader audience, to just say, it says we're here. You know, and inshallah, we're stamping, you know, we're putting our stamp on things, and hopefully this record won't be erased until, you know, the day of judgment. You know, that this is, they'll be able to see us for who we are. And it was a blessing, it was, you know, it was a great opportunity. But yeah, you know, it was just dope. They took me in a room and it was super like blacked out, and they put a camera on and light, and it was just like go, and I was like, you got one shot. You know,
him in the background.
Yeah, you got one shot. And I did it twice. I did it with Al Jazeera, the global one, and then I did it with Al Jazeera Stream, which was live, which was another point of pressure. I was like, we live with millions. I was like, yo, you don't stutter, don't pause, don't nothing, right? But you know, as this becomes, as Young Muslims podcast becomes an entity and more than you all meeting up here and there, you're just gonna start recognizing more stuff for what it is. You know, you're gonna know when somebody's like playing with you and they're not taking it seriously, and you're gonna know when an opportunity comes.
It's a real thing.
And it's okay to tell your nuffs, like, all right, we about to get it. Yeah, you know, we about to, okay, we got that, cool, all right, cool. I'm happy that I got this opportunity. I'm front setting my faces everywhere. Okay, I recognize that. And that's how you keep it in check by accepting it. So I know, okay, it's gonna be everywhere. Cool, fine. We're gonna be on the tissue, like Martin said, right? We're gonna be everywhere. People know me, like, what? Don't play it, right? You gotta humanize yourself at the same time.
Bring it back.
Yeah, you gotta, like, yeah, I know what's happening here.
Yeah.
So yeah, alhamdulillah, it was a great opportunity.
So with this book, with both bodies of work, right? Two-part question. what do you want people to leave with when they finish the last poem? And with the work that you do, what do you want people to understand from your legacy?
That's serious.
Oh, we ask the big questions on this podcast.
I would say first is that we're real people with real lives, real emotions, real conflicts that go through happiness, that go through joy. We also go through tragedy. We experience the full spectrum of life. And many times people who are subjugated don't get the opportunity to be like full humans. So we either see you in this trope of your life was completely tragic and nothing ever good came about it, or you had it completely easy your whole life. Get out of my face. And for a lot of us, our story is a story of like just roller coaster through navigating through systems, through relationships, and all of that. That's the first thing I want you to get, is that this is an attempt at a full scope of things. And the second thing I guess just large scale I want people to get is there's power. There's an immense power in expressing yourself. There's a power that cannot be described. When a kid comes up to me and say, hey, I wasn't going to come to this performance. I came and I was literally arguing with my mother on the way here. And, almost to the point of tears, saying like, I think I'm going to go home and try to apologize and fix things up. And so that means people saw themselves in a way. So there's immense power in expressing that. Otherwise, if we stay silent, that wouldn't happen. So I think that's what I want people to know. We live full lives. You know what I'm saying? Like we live. Dr. Suad Abdul Khabir, in her book Muslim Cool, she describes that people think of the ghetto as this place of immense like pleasure and suspense, right? Like they only think of it as like yo, it like everything's happening and like drugs, guns, and it's like this place of fun and whatever the case may be. When there's like 2% of the neighborhood sells drugs and shoots guns. The other 98% of people are just chilling. And the same thing for people. If it's people who immigrate to this country and are coming from maybe conflict regions and things like that, it isn't all.
No, not even close.
You know what I'm saying? Like there are days where the very smallest portion of life means so much to people. And they appreciate it and they have a happiness that's derived from it and they live full lives. So we can say that, and we can also say that drones are a mark of emptiness upon humanity. We can also say that, we economically sanction a country, right, for ages, we're making people suffer inside. We can indict all of those things. We also can speak to, that's our tradition. Our tradition is a tradition of balance. And so hopefully people get balance from these things that are written. And, they seek it. They seek balance too. It's about you seeking balance too. So at the end of the day, it's not about Tariq and listening to, it's nice poems. No, it's about you seeking that balance and hopefully dying upon that balance. Like we're the people of the middle path.
You gotta think a little bit after you. Where you at?
Yeah, we're people of middle path. So seek it. Like try to try your best day by day to get that, and accept things for what they are, and let it be. Yeah.
So right now, we do appreciate you sharing that. So now that we know where you're at, tell us a little bit more about where you're going. I see that you've been going, been speaking at colleges such as Georgetown, Princeton, and Young Brother from West Baltimore.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So tell us a little bit more about
West Side Certified.
Right, West Side Certified. So let me see. I will be in Oklahoma this month. I'll be in California and in Boston, April. A few other I'll be in Chicago and in California again, I believe, in May.
Okay, mashallah.
And so that's tour stuff. Inshallah, I'll be releasing a children's line of books.
What?
So Toure Kids will be a thing. Inshallah by July. So I'm releasing the first of which is a children's book about a Muslim kid named David. It's called David's Dollar, and basically David, he gets his allowance, he spends his dollar on candy, and then he turns to his father and was like, "Yo, like I just gave away my dollar. I'm happy I got my candy, but like I just lost my dollar."
Yeah.
And his father takes him around the community to show him where his dollar went.
Oh wow.
It's all about the power of economics.
Oh, wow.
So,
Group economics.
yeah, so it'll be a series of that, about 4 to 5 books, and whatever comes out of that, and continuing to write, and hopefully by next year I will have finished writing like my first book on introspection. This will be long form essays called The Well, and that's basically addressing the emptiness that society is forcing on us right now. So just say this is about the well within all of us that Allah has put there for us to draw from, and not so much trying to draw from the toxic wells that society has put out for us. So. Yeah.
Very excited for all of that, man.
Right. We're working, man.
We all here to see that.
We're working, man. We're putting sticks in the fire. We're gonna see what happens.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
But every day, man, wake up, first things first, thank Allah that we got another day to be a blessing or to get blessed, right?
Absolutely.
But then, with all the things that you have going on, all of us in this room have going on, we just thank Allah that we are those people in a position to change people, a position to just be a help. You know what I'm saying? To be a mercy on people, you know what I'm saying? Just to do our best to be the best Muslims possible.
Yeah.
So big respect for what you're doing, man, and everything that that we got from this book, man.
Thank y'all for putting on this podcast. Tell people to tune in, subscribe.
So how can people find it? I know you want to keep
I'm out to plug y'all. I'm plugging y'all. People can find me at Tariq Toure on all platforms. TARIQ TOURE, and hit me up. I answer DMs when I have the ability to, and like I don't have a child running circles around me.
Yeah.
And reach out. Again, like I said, I'm regular. Like I'm regular. I'm not larger than life, and I hope I'll never be larger than life. And tap into the Young Muslims podcast. Like, where can they find y'all? Is the question.
Well, look, man, you can find some SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts.
Okay.
You can find some Castbox.
All that.
YouTube. The Young and Muslim Podcast.
YouTube. Okay.
Yeah, our YouTube channel's popping right now. So you can see these beautiful faces, everybody. Make sure you come and check us out. All right.
Yeah.
You can find us on Instagram, Young, the letter N Muslim. That's Young and Muslim.
Yeah.
And
Twitter.
Yeah, and Twitter.
Young and Muslim.
Yeah, so Young, the letter N Muslim. So we couldn't put the N. It was too much. So Young and Muslim.
Okay, cool. No, that's good. That's a little hip, but yeah, tell folks to tap in. They're doing some amazing work, archiving, and there's this long-term stuff.
Yeah.
This is long-term. This is the marathon, as Brother Nipsey, would say. This is a marathon, so thank y'all for running it.
Thank you.
Thank you for being part of it. We appreciate that.
Thank y'all so much, man.
Well, you know how we do, bro. Let's wrap this thing up.
For the last umpteen amount of minutes of time, you've been listening to the Young and Muslim podcast. I'm As-Salaam.
I'm Muhammad Hassan.
And this is Tariq Toure.
Peace. As-Salaam
And we
Alaikum.
greet you with the greens of peace.
As-Salaam
Alaikum.
Peace out.
Excellent.